Exodus 21, 1 through 32. Devotional focus verse. Now these are the judgments which thou shalt set before them. Exodus 21, 1. Have you ever played a game and come to a point where a question arose about the rules? I grew up in a home with 3 siblings, and playing games was part of our lives. From time to time, the fun of playing digressed into a disagreement about how the game should be played. After some discussion on both sides, someone usually found the rules and searched out the answer. The inventor of the game has the last word. He created the game, so he makes the rules. For the same reason, it is fitting that God the Creator set down rules for life. Sometimes people may question, who is God to tell us what to do? Why can't we make our own rules and do what we think is right? The answer simply is this: God created us. That gives him the authority to establish the moral guidelines that are to govern our day-to-day lives. Just as the game creator had a reason for the rules he established for the game, God has reasons for his rules. It is obvious that without requirements and moral guidelines for society, there would be chaos on multiple levels. Governments have laws to maintain social cohesion and to preserve the rights of its citizens. Organizations have rules to regulate business operations, protect employees, and ensure safety. Families have rules designed to keep things running smoothly in the home and promote family values. Schools have rules to keep the students safe and encourage order. In fact, rules seem to be an inevitable part of any organized social interaction. Even though the rules given in today's text were specifically designed for the children of Israel, they provide the basis for the criminal code and many of the moral laws we still have today. In Exodus 20, God gave the 10 Commandments. In this subsequent and more detailed segment of the law, God gave rules on how to handle specific situations. If we were to describe God's judgment in a brief manner, we would probably choose words like fair and simple. God gave the children of Israel all the necessary rules to live by in relatively few books and chapters. In contrast, think of the volumes of laws and interpretations of laws that have been written in the past hundreds of years. They would literally fill rooms, if not buildings, were they all assembled in one place. Yet there has never been an improvement on God's instructions. We should look at this chapter as evidence that God cared enough for the children of Israel to give them his law, and realize that he cares just as much for us as he did for them. Background information. In the previous chapter of Exodus, God gave the 10 Commandments to the children of Israel. This chapter and the next contain applications of those commandments as well as some punishments to those who broke the commandments. God wanted his people to live according to the principles he had given them, and he gave specific examples to help them understand how to implement his law in their society. The treatment of servants, or slaves, is dealt with in verses 1 through 11. Poverty was the major cause for Hebrew servitude, and God's instructions protected the servants' rights. The law applied to both men and women. Verses 12 through 17 discuss capital crimes, those for which the punishment was death. Premeditated murder was a capital crime, but accidental killing was not, and in those cases provision was to be made for a place where the guilty party could flee. This was a preliminary step to the cities of refuge that would be established once the children of Israel reached Canaan. To strike or curse one's parents or to kidnap a man were also capital crimes. Incidents causing personal harm are covered in verses 18 through 32. The details in these verses put a limit on the retribution for the specific injuries, hereby establishing guidelines for appropriate rather than excessive punishment or payment. Verses 24 and 25 are called the lex talionis, which means the law of retaliation. It limited the retribution to what the victim had lost. In many cultures of that time, extreme penalties were common, and God did not want his people to follow that pattern. God made it clear that slaves had rights and personhood. Some injuries to slaves required that they be given their freedom. God's law specifically protected women and slaves and made justice the same for all social classes. Other civilizations of that time had codes of law. However, God's law included religious regulations and stated he was the creator and therefore the authority for prescribing justice. In contrast to other codes, the law of God was outstandingly humane. The concept that God valued human life was clear. Conclusion: God's rules for the nation of Israel promoted justice, fairness, and peace in society and are the basis for our laws today.
Exodus chapter 21. Now these are the judgments which thou shalt set before them. If thou buy an Hebrew servant, 6 years he shall serve, and in the 7th he shall go out free for nothing. If he came in by himself, he shall go out by himself. If he were married, then his wife shall go out with him. If his master have given him a wife, and she have borne him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be her master's, and he shall go out by himself. And if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out free. Then his master shall bring him unto the judges, he shall also bring him to the door, or unto the doorpost, and his master shall bore his ear through with an awl, and he shall serve him forever. And if a man sell his daughter to be a maidservant, she shall not go out as the menservants do. If she please not her master, who hath betrothed her to himself, then shall he let her be redeemed. To sell her unto a strange nation he shall have no power, seeing he hath dealt deceitfully with her. And if he have betrothed her unto his son, he shall deal with her after the manner of daughters. If he take him another wife, her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage, shall he not diminish. And if he do not these 3 unto her, then shall she go out free without money. He that smiteth a man, so that he die, shall be surely put to death. And if a man lie not in wait, but God deliver him into his hand, then I will appoint thee a place whither he shall flee. But if a man come presumptuously upon his neighbor, to slay him with guile, thou shalt take him from mine altar, that he may die. And he that smiteth his father, or his mother, shall be surely put to death. And he that stealeth a man, and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death. And he that curseth his father, or his mother, shall surely be put to death. And if men strive together, and one smite another with a stone, or with his fist, and he die not, but keepeth his bed. If he rise again, and walk abroad upon his staff, then shall he that smote him be quit, only he shall pay for the loss of his time, and shall cause him to be thoroughly healed. And if a man smite his servant, or his maid, with a rod, and he die under his hand, he shall be surely punished. Notwithstanding, if he continue a day or 2, he shall not be punished, for he is his money. If men strive, and hurt a woman with child, so that her fruit depart from her, and yet no mischief follow, he shall be surely punished, according as the woman's husband will lay upon him, and he shall pay as the judges determine. And if any mischief follow, then thou shalt give life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burning for burning, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. And if a man smite the eye of his servant, or the eye of his maid, that it perish, he shall let him go free for his eye's sake. And if he smite out his manservant's tooth, or his maidservant's tooth, he shall let him go free for his tooth's sake. If an ox gore a man or a woman, that they die, then the ox shall be surely stoned, and his flesh shall not be eaten, but the owner of the ox shall be quit. But if the ox were wont to push with his horn in time past, and it hath been testified to his owner, and he hath not kept him in, but that he hath killed a man or a woman, the ox shall be stoned, and his owner also shall be put to death. If there be laid on him a sum of money, then he shall give for the ransom of his life whatsoever is laid upon him. Whether he have gored a son, or have gored a daughter, according to this judgment shall it be done unto him. If the ox shall push a manservant or a maidservant, he shall give unto their master 30 shekels of silver, and the ox shall be stoned. And if a man shall open a pit, or if a man shall dig a pit, and not cover it, and an ox or an ass fall therein, the owner of the pit shall make it good, and give money unto the owner of them, and the dead beast shall be his. And if one man's ox hurt another's, that he die, then they shall sell the live ox, and divide the money of it, and the dead ox also they shall divide. Or if it be known that the ox hath used to push in time past, and his owner hath not kept him in, he shall surely pay ox for ox, and the dead shall be his own,